Welcome to Di's Home and Garden. I'm Di and we're back in the kitchen today. This is my first video for 2023, so welcome back, welcome to the new year. Yes, I have had some time off and I'm getting back into it again slowly. So thanks for joining me. If this is the first time here, what we do is cooking, some craft and gardening. So what I've spoken about before is being frugal, and I mean that in a good way and not a bad way. Some people do see the word frugal as being a bad thing, but at the moment we're all trying to save money, and we need to save money because haven't prices gone up? With that in mind, a lot of people will go through what they call a pantry challenge, so that in January it's like, don't buy anything, let's use everything that we've got from our pantry. Now in Australia, January is a really good time to do that because the garden's just pumping out stuff. At the moment, this is just what I picked yesterday. There's a whole bunch of tomatoes. There's yellow and red ones in there. There's cherry tomatoes, there's full-size tomatoes. I picked beans, zucchini, spring onions, cabbage. What else did I pick? Spinach. Not spinach, it was perpetual spinach. So I picked a whole lot of stuff, and it got me to thinking, like, okay, what do we do when we've got a whole lot of stuff? And rather than looking and saying, oh, what would I like to cook? I go into the garden, pick what's ready, and then I say, what can I make with this? So I'm going to take you on a little journey of what I'm going to do with the produce that I picked yesterday. And I already did use some last night for dinner, but also I went into my pantry. So I wouldn't call it necessarily a pantry challenge, but I have stocked up on a lot of stuff, and I've noticed that I've still got stuff in my freezer that I grew last year, that I was picking in January, February, March last year, and it needs to be used. So my garden has been a bit smaller this year for two reasons. The weather hasn't really been that good, but I haven't been able to get out there into the garden, so it's not pumping out as much produce, but it's pumping out still a lot. So I'm doing a challenge of my own where I need to use up a lot of the reserve stuff that I've got in the pantry, in the freezer, and I'm just saying, how long can I go so that I can just use it up, and then I'll restock very slowly. The way I'm going to restock is I'm going to be looking for what's on special, what's on sale, and getting only those items and restocking the pantry and the freezer. So unlike a lot of people, I don't have a large family living here with me, a lot of things, but I do like to meal prep and put stuff in the freezer, and it's just ready to go. So I'm not cooking every day, but I just like the challenge of saying, well, how long will I be able to go, and what interesting things will I come up with, seeing that I just don't get a recipe and go through it and say, right, I need to go and buy this, this and this. I'm doing it the reverse. I'm going into the freezer and saying, what have I got and what can I make with it? So first thing I did yesterday, I thought, well, we need to get some protein into these meals, and going through the pantry, I've got beans, and they're dried beans, and dried beans are excellent. $2 for a packet, and you've got a whole lot of protein sitting there that can stay in your cupboard for quite some time. If you want to pack it into Mylar bags, it will last 25 to 30 years. Like, that's incredible to have that sort of stuff put away, and knowing that, all right, if tough times hit, or, you know, say we went through something like COVID again and we couldn't get to the shops, or we didn't want to go, you'd have enough to carry you through for quite some time. So getting back to the beans, what have I done with them? I soaked them overnight, and I'll just show you what I've got in a moment. I soaked them overnight. One of them I've just rinsed and put into the saucepan, and I'm about to do the next one. So I'll just show you what I'm doing with that. So these are the beans that I've just rinsed. I've just filled that up with water, and these ones are called, I'm just grabbing the jar that I had them in. These are white beans or great northern beans. And so I've soaked them overnight in the water. Now, I have read that you need to change the water. You can't just dump it with the water and cook it. If you change the water, it's better for you. It produces, what can I say, produces less gas in your tummy. So these are the other beans that I had. Now these are borlotti beans, and you can use them for many, many different things. So I'm just going to rinse these. Then I'm going to put them into a saucepan. And I'm going to put both of those saucepans on to boil. Now, from doing it in the past, it can take anywhere from, just put this up, it will take anywhere from about 2 hours, 4 hours, sometimes even 5 hours. So I just want to cook them until they're soft. So I just have to put them onto a slow simmer, and then I'll need to come back and check them to make sure that the water level isn't dropping too much. And once they're cooked, what I do with all these beans, because they will expand a lot and I won't be using that many beans, I actually put them in containers in the freezer in small amounts so that they're there whenever I need them. Now, if I need them for a recipe and I've forgotten to get them out and defrost them, I can just do that in the microwave. So, 2-3 minutes, I've got them ready to use. So I use them in salads, soups, stews, and I do actually cook a really nice bean recipe with lots of sauce. There's maple syrup in it, there's some bacon. It's really delicious. So you can just make beans on their own, or you can add it to other dishes. You can make chili. You can do lots of things. So first of all, I'm just going to cook the beans, and then we'll have a look at what I'm going to do with the rest of the stuff that I picked yesterday. Okay, so I've dragged out from the fridge the things that I picked from the garden yesterday, and then I went through the freezer to have a look. What have I got in here that, one, I need to use, and two, I could put together with the produce that I picked to make something. And then I went to the pantry and had a look there as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a soup. You might call it a stew. It's going to be very, very thick and hearty. And let's just have a look at what I've got to put in there. So we'll just turn this around a little and I'll just show you what I've got. So in my freezer, I had some chorizo. Now these are already cooked. They just need to be warmed through, so I don't need to cook them. I can just slice them and add them to the dish. I've got some leeks. You may have seen the video where I harvested my leeks last year. I have got bags of leeks, bags this size. I've probably got about 20, maybe even 30 of bags in the freezer. So we definitely need to get through some of those. We've got some celery. This is from January last year. That's what I was saying. I've got stuff. This is from September the year before. So from 2021. It's capsicum. And what I did, I picked that up when it was on special, diced it all up, threw it in the freezer. I've got my tomatoes. This is cabbage that I have already sliced up. I sliced it all up yesterday. I won't be using all of it, but I'll be using a lot of it. In my bag here, I've got my perpetual spinach, and the stalks will be cut up as well and added to the mix. In here is the rest of the produce that I picked yesterday. I've got some zucchinis. Oh, there's a tomato in there. I've got some beans, yellow and green beans. So I'll be slicing those up. And there's another small cabbage. I'll put that away for later. In the pantry, I've grabbed some crushed tomatoes. I'm going to be using some chicken stock powder. I'll be adding some salt. And I also found that I've got these. I bought 2 of these. These are gnocchi. Now I'm just reading through the ingredients. I thought that these were gluten-free. I'm not sure. But anyway, I've got gnocchi. I'm going to add that to it as well. As I said, it's going to be very hearty, and I'm going to be adding the beans. Now, once I've made it, it's got a lot of things to give it flavour in there. So you've got your tomatoes, that'll give it a nice flavour. The chorizos certainly will give it a lot of flavour. They're under here. The chorizos will add a lot of flavour to it. But I'll adjust it. Once I've done it and made it, I'll have a taste of it. And if I think, it needs something else, then I'll go and hunt around. But I think that what I've got here is going to make a really, really nice dish. So all I'm going to do is start adding things to my pot, which is over here. So cabbage always wilts down, and you put a lot in, and by the time you've cooked it, there's not that much. So I will use a lot of that cabbage, but I will save some for something else. I'll add the tomatoes. I'm going to need some water. So I'll run the water through that can so that I get every last bit out of it. Okay, let's add the celery. The leeks. The capsicum. Oh, what else I've got in the freezer? I've got some chicken stock, so I'll get that out as well, and I'll use that rather than adding any more water to it. I'll put in chicken stock powder. And I want to get my freezers emptied right out so that I can clean them as well. I mean, you can do that at any time, but it'd be nice to have them empty and to be able to do it. So just slicing this up. Oh, you can smell the flavour in that. Yes, you might be able to hear my dog is making some noises there saying, I can smell it too, and it smells delicious. Okay, now the gnocchi I will not add until it's all cooked and I'm ready to serve it. And I'm not sure with these tomatoes. This one, I do have my tomatoes netted because we have fruit fly here in this area, but these weren't netted, so I need to just double. These were ones that were self-seeded. They're volunteer plants. They came up because I used the compost, and you'll see that I'm putting everything aside here as I'm cutting it because that's going to go into my compost. So just had a check of that. Looks good. No, that's not good. And I have washed all these. Oh, there's a mark on that, but it looks good otherwise. Yep. That's what you get with home produce. It may not be perfect, but it's perfect to eat. And you know that there's no chemicals, sprays or anything used. It's all natural. I think that's what I like most about having my own garden, that I know what's gone into it, and that I'm not consuming chemicals that I don't know anything about. Okay, I'll save the rest of the tomatoes for a salad. I'll just have a look. I've got a lot of dehydrated stuff. I'll just have a look and see if there's anything there that I'd like to add to it. I put leeks in there, but I'll add some dehydrated onion as well. Okay, I'll add some salt. And I'll get the chicken stock. Oh, I've got some zucchini here that I'm going to add, and some beans. Just need to wash these. So I'll be back in a second. It's a bit too old, that one. Okay, and now the zucchinis, I'll just wash them. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to add the chicken stock to this, and the beans when they're cooked, and just before I serve it, I'll add the gnocchi just to cook through. Okay, I've just found some carrots, so we'll add some carrots to that as well. And again, all this is going to go into my compost, all the scraps. Another thing you can do with the scraps, you can put them in a bag in the freezer, and then when you have enough, you can make a vegetable stock out of it. But these carrots are a little old, and I really don't like the look of the skin on them, so I wouldn't be using that in a stock. So they can go straight into my compost. And like always, I always peel an extra carrot. because can you see him? Yes, you can see my dog there. And he absolutely loves carrots. Thank goodness I had my nectarine tree all netted off and he couldn't get to it, or he would have been eating them. Anyway, we'll get this done and we'll come back. Okay, so it's all cooked now. I've put the beans in separate little compartments and I've just actually put them in the freezer. So I'll take you across there and you can have a look and see they're in the freezer there. So I got 4 containers of the borlotti beans and 2 of the white beans. So just to give you an idea against my hand, that's the size of the container that I put them in. There we go. So they're in there for whenever I need them. And I've just brought the pot off the saucepan off the stove because it's finished cooking. So there you have it. I did say it would be like a soup or a stew, sort of between the both, and that's what we've got. So it's got everything in there. Let's go through what's in there. I've got beans that I picked yesterday from the garden. I've got spinach, cabbage, zucchini. From my freezer, I've got capsicum, leeks, celery. From my pantry, I also have tomatoes from the garden. From my pantry, I have some dehydrated onion. I have some crushed tomatoes, some chicken stock powder. From my freezer, I also had chicken stock. I've got beans in there as well. And also from the pantry, I've got the gnocchi that I needed to use up. So that is going to be a really hearty meal. Oops, nearly lost it. And I'll just serve that up over into this bowl here so that you might be able to get a better look at it. There we go. What a delicious meal. And it's got the chorizo, that's right, that was from the freezer as well. So I did have a little taste test to see if any of the flavourings needed adjusting, and the chorizo sausage has put that chorizo flavour right through the soup. So I'm glad I didn't add any pepper because it is rather spicy. I don't like pepper anyway, and I am finding that the chorizo is a little bit, for my taste, a little bit too spicy. But that'll be fine, gives it nice flavour. Very healthy, lots of vegetables. The protein is coming from the chorizo and the beans. And what I can also do, which I do sometimes, when I cook something like this, which has got a bit of liquid like that, I'll just have it on the stove while it's boiling. I'll just crack 2 eggs into it and put the lid on. That'll cook them, and so then I'll serve it with eggs as well. But I'm going to be putting this in the fridge. If I want eggs with it, I'll poach them and put them on top. So that's another suggestion for you. So that's just getting back to it. That's talking about how to be frugal, how to cook from your pantry, how to not worry about, oh, do I have enough money to go shopping? Go through your fridge. If you've got a garden, go through that. Go through your pantry. But if you don't have much stock and you're finding it that it's really difficult at the moment, what you need to do is, as I mentioned before, if you see something on special, have a look and say, is that something that I use? Is it something that I need? Can I buy an extra? Because especially when they have, I don't know where you are, but our stores here run half price specials. So if I see something half price, it's something that I use and something that I need, I'll actually buy 2 rather than 1. And that way you can just put it aside and you can build your pantry. And when you're shopping, as I keep saying, times are tough, money's tight. Even if you've just got $5 a week, if you shop weekly, or $10 a fortnight if you shop fortnightly, and say, right, that money is set aside and I'm just going to pick up a few extra things, even if it's a packet of beans, you know, a packet of rice, but just something that you can just start to stock your pantry up with. Then when the times are tough and you say, well, really, I can't go shopping this week, or I'll go shopping, but only for the bare essentials like milk and bread. But let's see what meals we can make. If you've got some suggestions, I would love to hear them. Leave them in the comments. But yeah, I hope that this has given you some inspiration to just hunt around and see what you can make. Thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the video and hope to see you back next time. Have a great day. Bye.